Well, Robotech was having a good old time in the States, plowing through its 65-episode run and enjoying syndication. The robot genre was starting to sputter and hiccup. If the genre was a car, its gas tank would have suddenly gotten dumped full of sugar. However, there was something on the horizon that would help the genre out impressively. Up to this point, anime was limited to TV and film, but there was a new piece of tech on the market that was changing the way people thought about entertainment: the VCR. And with it came the original video animation, or OVA. It was suddenly able to make shows without the limiting constraints of TV sponsors and studios, which TV series depended on for money, mostly, and good ratings to keep it afloat. In the OVA industry, depending on who was fronting the money, it could be used as a proof-of-concept project to start a TV series, or it could be used as its own standalone project. One or two episode OVAs then started to trickle into the market and did little else. Well, direct-to-video was not something you wanted to be called in the American market. At this point in Japanese anime, it was A-OK. Making full use of this was Megazone 23, which was originally conceived as a 12-episode TV series, but the funding all backed out. Originally starting its production in 1985, the second part, which is a little bit more in keeping with the concept of this particular series, was released in 1986. The series is a little all over the place, the first series following a group of people living in what appears to be 1980s Japan, but is actually a floating spacecraft in the vein of The Matrix. Once it's revealed that there's more going on, the series becomes about returning to a destroyed Earth and a machine intelligence that turns into what really can only be described as an evil Hatsune Miku. It got 4 film-length episodes, and the art switches styles from film to film, and so does the quality. Still, it was a good example of what the OVA could be used for, and Part 1 was tapped to be folded into Robotech the movie with new animation for the ending. MD Geist was another animated feature to come out in this format. While it was notable for featuring extreme violence in a Mad Max-style world, it was also lacking much in the way of story. Mad Max ended up becoming incredibly popular in Japan, as the TV series Fist of the North Star would prove. While MD Geist would enjoy relative success and give Koichi Ohata, the director, a leg up in the industry, its flaws were far greater than what it brought to the table. Still, it managed to get another film made some years later, titled Death Force. Yet another stumbling block for the real robot genre was Gundam Double Zeta, which began its life as something of a more comedic addition to the Gundam series. Given the tragedy that was the wrap-up of Gundam Zeta, it made sense that Tomino would want to swing the other direction. As such, the series prominently features Judo Ashita as the pilot of the new, almost comically massive Gundam Double Zeta, a transforming mobile suit. Likewise, the Zeta reappears with a new pilot, and most of the main mechs from the previous series crop up regularly. However, neither Amuro Ray nor Char Aznable are seen in this series proper, and only Bright Noah and Haman Khan, an antagonist from Zeta, return prominently. This was seen as something of a low point for Gundam, as demonstrated by Bright Noah getting assaulted by a chicken. Following a mid-series turnabout back towards what made Gundam great, the series then continued on as expected. It would not be for a few years that a new Gundam would arise, but this time it would be on the silver screen. Following Double Zeta, Machine Robo: The Revenge of Kronos would hit the airwaves. Not to be confused with the Kronos from the Guyver series, which is unrelated, the Machine Robo series followed Rom Stahl, a machine human, as he battled the Guylander forces who wanted to take over the machine planet of Kronos. It was sort of a cheap way to breathe life into old molds of toys, and the toy line itself was brought over as parts of GoBots and also Rock Lords. The series was underwhelming, and only a few episodes came over to the States in the early 2000s. Wholly unremarkable, save for what the toys ended up being. The last thing that ended up coming out in that period was Fight Ixer 1, which is something of a mishmash of a lot of things. It's got a lot of good going on in the robot fighting department, but also dices a lot with spirituality and Yuri and apocalypses and, well, let's just say it's a good example of what OVAs could get away with that TV series could not. This 3-episode series has so many balls in the air that it's actually somewhat miraculous that they managed to keep it going at all. However, due to the events of the series, they have to pull some serious rabbits out of hats to squeeze a happy ending out of it. Still, between this and MD Geist, it was in the first wave of anime to be brought over to the States in a meaningful, non-bootlegged fashion for the home video market, starting in 1993. The genre was changing and shifting as years went on. because they had learned through Super Robots that stagnation and obsolescence were the most deadly foes that robots could face. To this end, the OVA would become the preferred medium for robot and high-concept sci-fi anime for the next few years, and 1987 would help cement this as a concept.